Hello and welcome back to this Friday's episode of Sports Corner. I'm Cole Young, and in our first full week without football, a lot has happened around the sports world. Let's get right into it. Starting in the NBA, the All-Star Game, dunk contest, and three-point contest all took place this past weekend. The All-Star Game, which went back to its original East versus West format, ended with the East taking home the All-Star Game title, winning 211 to 186. It's the highest scoring All-Star game in history, and the Eastern Conference became the first team to surpass the 200-point mark. Karl Anthony Towns from the West was the game's leading scorer with 50 points off the bench in the losing effort. Last season, Jason Tatum broke the record for most points scored in an All-Star game with 55. Damian Lillard led the East with 39 points, including 2 made half-court shots. He was awarded the Kobe Bryant MVP award, his first time winning the award in 8 All-Star appearances. Before the high-scoring, wild All-Star game, the dunk contest and three-point contest both took place. Mac McClung, who plays for the Osceola Magic of the NBA G League, defended his slam dunk contest title last year, winning again in 2024. McClung defeated the Boston Celtics' Jaylen Brown in the championship round when he used Hall of Fame center Shaquille O'Neal as a prop for his final dunk, which earned him a perfect 50 score from the judges. In the three-point contest, this year's final round was between the Bucks' Damian Lillard and the Hawks' Trae Young. After burying his final shot, Lillard earned his second straight three-point contest title, becoming the first repeat winner of the contest since 2007 and 2008. I'm sure someone out there is wondering, how did Steph Curry, the best three-point shooter in history, not win the contest this year? Instead of the usual three-point contest, Curry was part of a new tradition, the NBA versus WNBA three-point contest. New York Liberty point guard Sabrina Ionescu took on Curry in this contest after she won the WNBA three-point contest the previous weekend, setting a new record with 37 points. Ionescu put on an incredible performance, scoring 26 points. But Steph Curry just barely narrowed out a win, scoring 29 points. This was definitely one of the major highlights of the weekend, and it was incredible to watch 2 of the greatest three-point shooters ever square off in a head-to-head competition for the first time. Sticking with basketball, March is quickly approaching, meaning March Madness is almost here. The bracket is slowly starting to take shape, but nothing's set in stone just yet. Just as a brief refresher for those that might not follow college basketball too closely, March Madness is the term given to the NCAA basketball championship bracket that goes through the month of March. The tournament is a single elimination tournament of 68 teams that compete in 7 rounds for the national championship. The penultimate round is known as the Final Four, when, as you can guess, only 4 teams are left. The final bracket is announced on what has now been called Selection Sunday, where a selection committee reveals all 64 schools, their seating, and game schedules. This year, Selection Sunday will be on Sunday, March 17th. Right now, the 4 number 1 seeds in each conference are UConn in the East, Purdue in the Midwest, Houston in the South, and University of Arizona in the West. Of course, a lot could change the next 2 weeks, so these are tentative seedings. Right now, 2 local teams are looking like they will make the tournament: UC Irvine, and last year's Cinderella story that fell just short in the championship round, San Diego State. Like I said, anything can happen before the official bracket is actually announced, but it's absolutely one of the most exciting months of the sports year. I'll be sure to continue to update you as the tournament gets closer to tip-off. Speaking of college basketball, a new record was set in NCAA women's basketball. University of Iowa senior guard Caitlin Clark became the all-time leading scorer in NCAA Division I women's basketball history on Thursday, February 15th. On the day, Clark headed into the matchup just 8 points shy of Kelsey Plum's record of 3,527 points. Fans didn't have to wait too long, as it took her just 2 minutes into the game to break the record. After hitting a layup and a three-pointer back-to-back within the first 2 minutes of the game, Clark was only 3 points away from the milestone. On Iowa's next possession, Clark hit a 33-foot three-pointer in transition, and the record was hers. Iowa went on to win that game 106-89, and on top of that, Clark scored a career-high 49 points that night. Of these points, 23 came in just the first quarter. She also set Iowa's program and arena records for the most points scored in a single game. Clark scored or assisted on 79 points in Thursday's 106-89 victory, the most in any game by any Division I player over the last 25 years, according to ESPN. Clark is not done yet. She could break Pete Maravich's mark of 3,667 for most career points in Division I history for both men and women. She currently sits with 3,569 points and is looking to take Iowa back to the national championship this season. I mentioned that March is just around the corner, and on top of March Madness, the month marks another major event in the sports world, MLB spring training. Pitchers, catchers, and position players all reported earlier this week. Two division rivals and two of our local teams faced off in the first spring training matchup of the year, a Cactus League showdown between the Padres and the Dodgers on Thursday. After a few other teams opened spring training today, all 30 MLB clubs will play in Cactus and Grapefruit League games on this Saturday, February 24th. The world will be tuning in to see Shohei Ohtani in Dodgers uniform for the first time. The Angels will open their spring training against the Dodgers this Saturday at 1 p.m. I know I mentioned that there's no more football for a while, but that doesn't mean the rumor mill ever stops churning. This week, several experts and analysts have been all casting their predictions and speculations about where some big-name players are going to end up. Arguably, the name that has been floated around the most has been the Bears quarterback Justin Fields. The Bears currently hold the first overall pick in this year's draft, one that will most likely be used on generational talent, USC's Caleb Williams. But the Bears could trade away this pick and continue to build around Fields. If that is not the case, however, teams like the Patriots, Raiders, Broncos, Steelers, Falcons, and more have all expressed their interest in trading for Justin Fields. The Broncos could be interested in Fields after their relationship with Russell Wilson has all but seemed to evaporate over the past few months. His name has been linked to the Steelers now on more than one occasion, so that could be an interesting development to watch. And lastly, Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins will be a free agent this offseason, and it's questionable whether or not he'll return to Minnesota, so he will definitely be a name to pay attention to in the coming weeks as well. The legal tampering period starts soon, meaning teams can start negotiating trades and contracts with players on other teams, so it's about to start getting really interesting. Speaking of the draft, this year has more question marks than any draft in recent history, in my opinion. There are several quarterbacks who could go in the top 5 or might slip out of day one completely. Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, and more are all top-tier college quarterbacks that will definitely hear their names called on draft day, just a matter of when and by whom. It's sincerely anyone's guess at this point as to what the Bears will do with the first overall pick and what the teams drafting behind them will do whether the pick gets traded or not. It seems like it will remain a mystery until the morning of the draft. Maybe because we might not know anything until it actually happens. Everything is just purely speculation at the moment. Switching gears to the other football, the UEFA Champions League is underway. The UEFA Champions League is a club-based European tournament for the national champions and other top clubs in major national leagues of European football associations. Clubs are currently in the round of 16, with matches taking place over the next few months and culminating with the final on June 1st at Wembley Stadium in London. Last weekend, another historic night in the UFC took place, this time just down the street from us. At UFC 298 at the Honda Center in Anaheim, featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski was set to defend his title belt for the 6th time against challenger Ilia Topuria. Volkanovski has held the title of featherweight champion since 2019, and at 35 years old is one of the all-time great champions across the UFC. Topuria, the 27-year-old fighting out of Georgia and Spain, entered the night at a perfect 14-0 across his career, with 5 of those coming from knockouts. He proceeded to shock the world on Saturday night, knocking Volkanovski out cold in just the second round of the fight, dethroning the longest reigning champion from the current divisions. This fight was a major shock to the mixed martial arts world, but Volkanovski is not one to shy away from a rematch. He already made his claim after the fight that he would love a rematch with Topuria, this time in Spain. As always, thank you for joining me on this Friday's episode of Sports Corner. It may be hard to believe, but we are rapidly approaching 100 episodes. I'll have to come up with something big for that episode. But for now, enjoy all the basketball, soccer, hockey, and more the sports world has to offer for the next few weeks. I'm Cole Young. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next time.